Hey guys, it's Ivy. Welcome back to my channel, and today I'm going to be doing my September wrap-up. I did read a lot of books, however, I didn't read the books that were on my TBR. I'm just gonna jump right in and tell you all the books that I read. The first book that I read was Into the Bright Unknown by Carson, and I listened to this on audiobook. It is the final book in the Golden Seer trilogy. And the first book starts off with this girl. She's a teenager and she can sense gold, and this is like back in like the gold rush where people are all like moving to California to find a better life. She comes home to find both of her parents murdered, and so this sets her out on her journey because she realizes that it was her uncle that murdered her parents because he knows about her gift. It is an amazing trilogy. The first two books I gave 5 stars. This book I only gave 4 stars because it wasn't as thrilling as the first two were. I highly recommend the audiobooks because they're narrated fantastic. The lady who narrates them has an accent, so it's like you really just picture yourself there, and it's just portrayed so vividly. It's such a beautiful trilogy, so beautiful, and it's very much outside of what I read, I would say, because it's kind of historical fiction, but it has that magical realism element. So I really loved it, and it's honestly one of my favorite trilogies of all time. So that says a lot about it because I have a hard time connecting with historical fiction, but I full-heartedly connected with this story and I really loved it, so highly recommend. The next book that I read in the month of September happens to be one of my favorite books of the year, and that is The Beautiful by Renee Ahdieh. This book is about a girl named Celine, and she travels to New Orleans, and she is in the convent there, and basically it's kind of like, if you know the story of the Casket Girls, like, you can tell that it was heavily inspired. In this story, Celine meets this man named Sebastian who is very swoon-worthy, I must say, but there she learns that him and his group of friends are not what they seem, and there's murders happening in New Orleans and people are being like drained of their blood. And Renee Ahdieh just really brought vampires back in such an awesome way because she took it right to the source, right to New Orleans, and this book just ended on such a cliffhanger, and I'm just blown away. The writing is beautiful, the cast of characters is amazing, and you can tell that Renee really put a lot of heart and research into this novel because it is just so stunning, and definitely 5 out of 5 stars. I highly recommend, and it comes out October 10th, I think, so pick it up. You need it. You need this book in your life. The next book I read is The Lady and the Highwayman by Sarah M. Eden, and this book is about 2 people who write penny dreadfuls. One of them is a woman and the other one is a man, and in this day, it's like early 1800s or 1900s Victorian London, 1830s. They write penny dreadfuls, but in this day women cannot write penny dreadfuls, like it's frowned upon, and the guy is like the most famous writer, and he's being like demoted by this woman, so he's on the hunt to figure out who it is. Meanwhile, he thinks it's a man because she writes under a man's name. This book is heavily influenced by real life horrors, not so much scary like penny dreadfuls. They're not very scary. I thought this book would be more scary than it was, but it wasn't. But it's like these 2 people, they try to save children who are being enslaved, and that put a different aspect to the story that I wasn't really expecting. Also, there is a romance, and the penny dreadfuls were entertaining. I did like them, but this book was not as scary as I wanted it to be, so for that I was disappointed. I think maybe like a 2.75 I would rate it, but I still would recommend it because I still like enjoyed my time reading it. The next book I read was My Sister the Serial Killer, and I'm sorry but I don't know how to say this author's name, but this book is about a girl whose sister calls her and says that she murdered her boyfriend, and the sister's like, again, and she just keeps killing her boyfriends, and the main character just keeps covering up for all of her sister's mistakes. And her sister's very mean. Like, it's kind of disgusting how like their relationship is, because her sister's so mean to her, but she just covers up everything for her, and she bends over backwards for her. Like, the sister shows up at her work and steals her crush away from her, basically, and it's just like their relationship is weird. But I did like this book. I did give it 4 out of 5 stars. I highly recommend it. I read it in like a day. It was so entertaining, and I just really liked it, even though I didn't like their relationship. But it was wild. This book was wild. The next book I read was House of Furies by Madeleine Roux, and this was a reread for me. I read it a few years ago and I was obsessed. I loved it. I read it in one sitting. I could not get enough. I had forgotten some of the small details and I wanted to reread it before I stepped into the sequel, so I did, and I still stand by my 4.5 rating that I gave it last time. It is about this girl named Louisa who goes to this house, and basically when you go to this house, you go there to die. Like, you're there on like punishment, like you've done something really bad, and it's run by the devil, and like his feet are backwards, and it's just full of creepy stuff, and I'm obsessed with this story. I could not get enough of it. It's dark, it's gothic, it's Victorian, there's magic, there's everything that you need in an October read is this, so definitely pick it up this fall. So like I said, I had to pick up the sequel, which was Court of Shadows, and I loved this book just as much as the first one. It carries on the story of where the first book ends. I'm not gonna give a synopsis because it's full of spoilers, but I'm definitely continuing with book 3 because it's an amazing trilogy. Like, it's so good. The next book I picked up in September was In a Dark, Dark Wood by Ruth Ware, and this is a thriller. This book is about a girl named Nora who hasn't talked to her friend Claire in years, and all of a sudden she gets invited to her hen, which is basically like this bachelorette weekend away. And I really don't want to say too much because it's like a thriller. You should just go in not knowing anything. But basically somebody is murdered during this weekend, and it's like you're trying to figure out who did it. And honestly, I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. I was back and forth between different people of who did it, but I wasn't like shockingly blown away, but I still really enjoyed the ending. So I do recommend this. It was good. It was good. It was a very solid read. Like, I read it like in like 2 days. I really enjoyed it. Then I read Bunny by Mona Awad, and this book is about this girl who is at college. So the girl's name is Samantha, and she's at college, and there's this group of girls that she like really hates, and they all call each other Bunny, and they're all like into like sprinkles and cute things and just kind of obnoxious, and they start to initiate her into their cult, and they're really messed up. Like, these girls are crazy, and they, you know what, I'm gonna leave it at that. I'm gonna leave it at that. This book is not for everyone. I don't recommend this for everybody, but if you're into like weird stuff, if you're into cults, if you're into college settings, this book is just weird. If you like weird stuff, then I recommend this for you. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was so different and like bizarre that I was like, yeah, I like this. So take that for what you will. The final book I read in September is Summer of Salt by Katrina Leno, and this also made my favorites of the year list. This is a magical realism book. This is about two twin sisters, Georgina and Mary, and they live on this island where people come to stay at their house every year to watch this bird that comes every year. And the bird is said to be a descendant of their ancestry line. It was a woman who turned into a bird. So that's kind of where the magical realism factor comes in. The women in this family have powers. They're basically witches. A brother and a sister show up, and the sister and Georgina form a relationship. The bird doesn't show up on time, and the people on the island and the people that come there to see this bird start to get really worried. That's all I'm gonna say, okay? This book is full of tragedy. It's full of heartbreak. It's such a beautiful, beautiful tale. I read it in one sitting. I could not stop reading it. I loved it. I will say, if you're a fan of practical magic, the rules of magic, the Wicked Deep, Winterwood, this is right up your alley. It's, oh god, it was so beautiful. It was, I'm like getting goosebumps just thinking about it. Pick it up. You will not regret that. I did read one more book. I forgot to mention it because I don't have a physical copy of it, and that is Stalking the Ripper by Kerri Maniscalco. I listened to this on audiobook, which I highly suggest that route. I will be definitely listening to the rest of the series on audiobook because it was fantastically narrated. This is a book about a girl who joins her uncle and his assistant, and basically they're like morticians or something. And anyways, there's a lot of murders that keep happening, so they want to figure out who's doing it because they're dismembering women's bodies, and she starts stalking the killer to find out who it is. And it blew my freaking mind. It was so good. I think I listened to it in like 3 days or something. I listened to like the first half of the book in one sitting because it was so good. I could not stop listening to it. Highly recommend that as well. So obviously I had a really good reading month. I read some favorite books, I read some really great books, and then only read 1 2-star book, and I still enjoyed it even though I only gave it 2 stars. So not too bad. Let me know in the comments down below what you guys read in the month of September, as I would love to hear about it. And if you're looking for me on any other social medias, those are linked down below. I will also leave all of the books down in the description below, so if you want to take a look at that, you can, in case you want to pick one of these up. Summer of Salt, pick it up. As always, if you guys like this video, please give it a big thumbs up and subscribe. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a beautiful day. Bye!